Good morning, everyone. Mac OS tips. Learning the Mac from a Windows user's view. For learning the Mac for Windows users, 6 ways to right-click a Mac without a mouse, plus 4 tips. Before we get into the details of this presentation, any comparison of Macs and PCs needs to note that Macs are PCs. In fact, as Apple used to say in the boilerplate of every press release, Apple ignited the personal computer revolution in the 1970s with Apple II and reinvented the personal computer in the 1980s with the Macintosh. Nor is it, strictly speaking, a comparison between Mac operating systems and Windows, because a Mac can actually run Windows. The operating system on a PC or Mac is a fundamental part of the user experience. Windows 8 was something of a car crash in terms of design and customer satisfaction. Thankfully, Windows 11 is turning out to be a good OS, but there's still a long way to go. You ask, why are we doing this? It is curiosity to find out what Windows has that Mac OS doesn't, or what features Mac OS has that Windows doesn't. The fact is that over the years, the two operating systems have become more and more similar in terms of features. If you are a Windows user moving to the Mac, then we think you won't miss anything, and the same goes from the move from a Mac OS to Windows. But learning a new operating system is the frustrating factor in any switch. The benefits have to outweigh the disadvantage of the unfamiliar. For anyone who's already used to iPhone or iPad, we feel that the Mac OS will be familiar even if you use Windows, which may be a good reason to move over to Mac. However, unlike Windows, the Mac OS does not support touchscreens. So let's talk about 6 ways to right-click on a Mac without a mouse. Like Windows, right-clicking on a Mac is a useful tool, as it gives you the ability to copy and paste, reload a tab, save or print a page, or even check grammar. If you don't have a mouse on hand, don't panic. There are various ways to right-click on a Mac without having to buy a mouse, including trackpad gestures and keyboard shortcuts. To utilize the full scope and functionality of this method, make sure that the tap to click is enabled in the System Settings app. To enable this method, go to System Settings, Trackpad, Secondary Click, then under the drop-down menu, select Click or Tap with 2 fingers. Our tip number 1, having trouble finding the Settings app? Newer versions of the Mac OS, including the latest Mac OS Ventura, label the Settings app as System Settings instead of System Preferences. The 2-finger click. The first method involves the MacBook trackpad or a standalone Magic Trackpad. It's also the default option, calling the 2-finger click. When you click, tapping 2 fingers on the trackpad will act as a control click, otherwise known as a right click. This method is undoubtedly the most popular with Mac users due to its ease and simplicity, and it can be further adjusted to suit a user's preferences. Windows laptop users will be familiar with this method as well. The corner click. An alternative to the 2-finger click is the corner click option. Using only a single finger to tap the designated corner of the trackpad will serve as a right click, bringing up the options menu. The corner click can also be enabled in the System Settings app. To enable this method, go to System Settings, Trackpad, Secondary Click. Under the drop-down menu, select either click in the bottom right corner or click in the bottom left corner. Our tip number 2, if your Mac feels slow or unresponsive, clearing the cache on your Mac to free up storage space may help improve performance, and efficiency. Number 3, the control click. The final method involves using your keyboard and trackpad, same as Windows, to perform a right click. While this right click method is very simple, it potentially requires more effort, as you need to use 2 hands at once. To right click using this tandem method, hold down the control key on your keyboard while performing a single click. This keyboard command is enabled by default, meaning there's no need to go into system settings to enable it. Number 4, force touch. If you're using a MacBook Pro from early 2015 or later, a MacBook Air from 2018 or later, a 12-inch Retina MacBook from 2015 or later, or the Magic Trackpad 2, you have access to the Force Touch feature. Force Touch trackpads utilize a combination of pressure sensitivity and haptic vibration feedback to simulate clicks. To enable this feature, head to System Settings, Keyboard, then enable Lookup and Data Detectors, and Force Click and Haptic Feedback. To right-click using Force Touch, simply press firmly on the trackpad with either 1 or 3 fingers, depending on your customization. The functionality of this method means you can adjust the haptic feedback, latency, and tracking speed of the trackpad to your personal preferences. Our tip number 3, not sure what Mac you have? You can find your Mac's model name and serial number in just a few clicks. System Settings, Apple ID, Devices. Number 5, our virtual keyboard. Accessibility settings can help you customize your Mac to meet your own personal workflow needs. For instance, accessing the Mac's virtual keyboard. Tip number 4, when you use an app in full screen mode, it'll cover the whole Mac screen, which is perfect for avoiding distractions. However, you won't be able to see your menu bar at the top or the dock at the bottom, but you can still access them by moving your pointer to your menu bar or dock's location. Mouse key shortcuts. If you want to learn how to right-click on a Mac without using the trackpad, the solution is to utilize accessibility settings within the System Settings app. You can enable mouse key shortcuts to simplify your workflow. If you can't access your keyboard either, you can combine this method with the virtual keyboard. Press Command plus Option plus F5 to bring up accessibility options without a mouse. Enable mouse keys, then select Done. Activate right-click menu by pressing Function plus Control plus I. Frequently asked questions. What are some things you can do with a right click? Typically, like Windows, you can achieve quite a lot with a mere right click. Not only will it give you access to a variety of options, it will also speed up your workflow within individual applications. Some of these options include copy and paste, save and print pages, reopen a web page, unpin an app, edit a photo, and check spelling and grammar. Question: why would I need to use an alternate right-click method? There could be many reasons to switch up your method of right-clicking. Maybe it's for practical reasons, or perhaps your mouse or trackpad no longer works. An alternative could be that you're trying to save time using mouse key shortcuts. This would be particularly helpful for people who are more tech-savvy or using specific software applications. What method is most effective? This is entirely subjective. However, the most popular right-click method with Mac users seems to be the 2-finger click. This may be due to practicality compared to other options that require the additional use of a keyboard or 2 hands. Additionally, if you have a choice to implement Force Touch, the haptic feedback and functionality of the Magic Trackpad can greatly optimize this method through personal customization. There is also an interesting argument for using mouse keys if you are familiar with shortcuts. Is there a way to right-click with the touch bar on a MacBook Pro? Unfortunately, if you have a MacBook Pro with a touch bar, the touch bar alone is not enough to prompt the right-click options menu. You can, however, configure your touch bar to add keys from your keyboard to the panel. For example, you can add the control key to your touch bar and right-click using the control-click method mentioned earlier. Our sources is Make Tech Easier, April 12, 2023. 6 Ways to Right-Click on a Mac Without a Mouse by Daniel Bott. The image credits are from Pixel, all screenshots by Daniel Bott. Daniel is a tech enthusiast with a background in filmmaking, formerly a digital journalist for the BBC. He writes online and directs commercials. He's a strong advocate for utilizing evolving technology and pushing it to its limits. Thank you, Phil James.
Hi, I'm Mike Ungerman of the Central Florida Computer Society. Today we'll continue with the 6th in a series on electric vehicles. In our previous presentations, we reviewed the technology of electric vehicles, their batteries, and introduced charging methods. Tomorrow, April 18th, 2023, is tax day in the U.S., so we're going to take a diversion from technology and look at the tax incentives of purchasing an EV in the U.S. and Canada. Income tax rules and regulations are different for the U.S. and Canada, so we'll address them separately, starting with the U.S. Any discussion of income tax credits for the purchase of a new vehicle should ultimately be discussed with your tax preparer, so do not take any information provided in this presentation as personal tax advice, nor rely specifically on any statements as recommendations in making a decision to purchase an electric vehicle. In other words, do your research and verify the sources you search online, or discuss with your accountant, bookkeeper, or tax advisor. There are 3 major categories in the U.S. for tax incentives for the purchase of a new or used vehicle. New plug-in fuel cell vehicles purchased before 2023. New plug-in and fuel cell vehicles purchased in or after 2023. Pre-owned plug-in and fuel cell electric vehicles purchased in or after 2023. The reference for the majority of my research is from the U.S. Department of Energy, Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. This is their website. Let's take a quick look. You can see the 3 major categories, and you can drill down in each category to the tabs which I have displayed above, and I'll reference in this presentation. Let's look at the first category, new plug-in and fuel cell vehicles purchased before 2023. You can receive a federal tax credit up to $7,500, which varies based on the capacity of the battery used to power the vehicle. It must have a weight of not more than 14,000 pounds. It must have an electric motor of not less than 4 kilowatt hours. If you purchase and take possession between 8/17/22 and 12/31/22, final assembly of the vehicle must be in North America. The credit phases out for vehicles at the beginning of the 2nd calendar quarter after the sale of 200,000 vehicles from 1/1/2010. Let's take a look at that tab. So here's all the information on the federal tax credit I just quoted. You can take a look at the requirements as well in greater detail. The nice thing about these pages is that you can then filter a table of eligible vehicles by given specifications. Let's take a look at before August 17th. You can then choose specific dates. You can take and drill down on a manufacturer and a model, or you can choose a particular type vehicle. I'll choose plug-in hybrids. Now you can see all of the plug-in hybrids that are eligible for the credit and the dates that it's eligible for and what you could get as your full credit. Now let's look at new plug-in and fuel cell vehicles purchased in 2023 or after. You can receive a federal tax credit up to $7,500, which varies based on the MSRP, final assembly location, and the purchaser's modified adjusted gross income. So now you have an income test. It must have a weight of not more than 14,000 pounds. It must have a battery capacity of not less than 7 kilowatt hours. It must be made by a qualified manufacturer according to the IRS. Final assembly of the vehicle must be in North America. After April 18th, it must meet critical minerals and battery component sourcing requirements. And the MSRP can't exceed $80,000 for vans, SUVs, and light trucks. Other vehicles, normal cars, for example, cannot exceed $55,000. Let's take a look at the website. Similar page with the requirements and the ability then to enter your filters. Let's take a look at all electrics. And let's, for example, the Cadillac Lyriq, I can get a $75,000 credit and the MSRP, and it goes on. Now let's look at pre-owned plug-in and fuel cell vehicles purchased in 2023 or later. A federal tax credit is based on 30% of the sales price up to $4,000. It must have a sales price of $25,000 or less and have a model year at least 2 years earlier than the year of purchase. The purchaser must pass a modified adjusted gross income limit, as before. It must have a weight of not more than 14,000 pounds. It must have an electric motor of not less than 7 kilowatt hours. The transaction must be with a dealer. The credit is non-refundable. You can't get back more than you owe in taxes, and it can't be applied to future years' taxes. So let's take a look at that page. Once again, you could here calculate your credit if you know the sales price. And you can take a look at the requirements. We can go to the same table. We can choose plug-in hybrids for an example and scroll down through the many vehicles that meet the requirements and see which ones will actually be eligible for you to buy used. There are some additional U.S. resources that I think are germane when you take a look and start your investigation, 2 from the IRS and 1 from the Department of Energy. Let's actually take a look at those. First from the IRS is a page on manufacturers and models for new qualified vehicles purchased in 2023 or after, with the assembly requirements. And then you can go take a look at the manufacturers and you can drill down and see the vehicles themselves. You see, not everybody has got the individual models listed as of now, but this will update on a regular basis. Next is a PDF document fact sheet from the IRS. This one will update periodically as rulings are made. I expect to see one come out, if not today, tomorrow, or this week, that will update many of these topics. They're going to address eligibility rules, income and price limitations, when the requirements apply, eligibility for each one of the previously owned vehicles, income and price limitations, claiming previously owned vehicle credit, and qualified consumer clean vehicles credit. A lot of reading. Then we have a page that actually lets you pick when you're going to buy the vehicle. And if you scroll down, if you've got a vehicle in mind and the dealer can provide you with the VIN number, you can enter the VIN number and see in advance whether the vehicle will meet the qualifications. Now let's switch over and take a look at the Canadian federal tax incentives for new EVs. In Canada, they're known as zero emission vehicles, or IZEV. In order to encourage the adoption of ZEVs, Canada launched this program in May of 2019, which has been extended to 2025 depending on funding. If the battery's range is greater than 50 kilometers, essentially for a plug-in electric vehicle, then they're eligible for up to $5,000 in a tax incentive. If the battery's range is less than 50 kilometers, specifically a PHEV, then they're eligible for an incentive of up to $2,500. Passenger cars MSRP must be less than $55,000, and you can have upgrades up to a maximum of $65,000 total price. Station wagons, light truck, SUV, minivans, they are less than $60,000, and again, upgrades up to a maximum of $70,000. Then there are provincial tax incentives for new EVs. British Columbia cars can have an MSRP maximum of $55,000. Station wagons, minivans, SUV, light trucks, and passenger vans have an MSRP maximum of $70,000. British Columbia adds an income test to their rebate requirements, which are shown here. In Quebec, you have both new and used EV tax credits. New BEVs have an MSRP maximum of $60,000 and a rebate of $7,000 max. New PHEVs have an MSRP maximum of $60,000 with the rebate calculated on the size of the battery. So it's either $5,000, $2,500, or $300. Used EVs must meet manufacturer's requirements, have a 4 kilowatt hour battery or more. It must have been purchased at a dealer and be 3 or 4 years old. Maximum rebate is $3,500. Incentives are also available for home charging stations at work, and multi-unit building charging stations. I have a bunch of Canadian references. I've also got them queued up, and the links I will provide. We'll take a quick look at those. Drive Canada, or Drive Electric, I should say, is a Canadian site which helps you find EVs across Canada and take a look at their specific requirements. Federal requirements. Here's the press release talking about their zero emission vehicle credits. They're light duty zero emissions, and it's showing that it's continuing until March 31st, 2025, or until available funding is exhausted. Then a breakdown of the purchase and lease incentives and links to help you find the vehicles and their eligibility dates. And then a listing of eligible vehicles in a table. Ron showed me the one for his new Toyota. Here's the British Columbia site for individuals, the requirements and their income requirements, and the vehicles that you can get your rebates and when you can get them and how to apply. They also help you find the EVs, filter by make and model, price ranges, and then see the EVs that meet the requirements. Here's Quebec's, their new vehicle rebate, the home charging station rebate, used vehicle rebate, charging stations at work, multi-unit building charging stations. And then you can do both a new and a used vehicle rebate search, very much like you can do in the US websites to drill down and find the vehicles that meet the requirements. I have archived a number of YouTube videos, as many of you know. I've got a new video now, or new playlist that is my tax credits. Here's a screenshot of the archive page, and I've also placed that on my blog. Here's the link for my blog, and that will be published in the Tech for Seniors newsletter. So Reducing your cost of EV ownership may benefit from a tax incentive provided by the US or Canada. A lot of research is required in advance of purchasing or leasing your new or used EV, given the complexity of our tax codes. The financing choice of your vehicle, purchase, cash, lease, loan, that can determine whether you're eligible for a tax credit or whether you get it or a leasing company may get it. The following presentations will probably continue on EV technology. We did not finish our charging review. We did our overview, and I'd like to focus next time on level 3 charging using DC chargers available at commercial, private, and public sites. So stay tuned.
Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. If you're like most people, your email inbox can quickly become overwhelming. With dozens, if not hundreds of messages flooding your inbox every day, it can be difficult to stay on top of things and manage your time efficiently. That's where artificial intelligence comes in. By using machine learning algorithms, Gmail can help you prioritize your messages, write emails faster, and even schedule appointments with ease. In this article, we'll explore 5 specific ways that AI can supercharge your Gmail productivity so you can get more done in less time. Today, I'm going to be showing you artificial intelligence in Gmail using a Chrome extension called Compose AI. This extension has a free and paid component. Today, I'll be using the free component, and at the end of the video, I'll be giving you my impression and recommendation. To obtain this extension, we'll just go over to the Compose AI website and download the extension for our Chrome browser. It easily installs. It will be available for you right after installation. You can turn the extension on or off, and in my experience, it works quickly and doesn't interfere with the speed of your computer. It sits as resident in your Gmail software. So in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 features of Compose AI that will help you increase your productivity in Gmail. So the first feature of Compose AI I'm going to show you is called Compose Anything. Let's have a look. All right, here we are in my Gmail account, and I have created an email that we're going to put some body and text into. You'll see that I have installed Compose AI. You'll see that at the bottom here it says written with Compose AI. And to start AI, all that you have to do is put your cursor in the body of the text and 2 forward slashes. And this brings up, of course, the Compose AI menu. So the first thing you'll notice when you forward slash twice, you'll see that it brings up the AI menu. So when using AI for writing, the first thing you want is to define what thing you want. And if you come down the menu here, of course, you can type anything you want in this line, but let's come down because Compose AI has already predefined some templates for you. Let's have a look at this. An outline, a bullet list, a headline, a paragraph about, a couple of paragraphs about, a sentence about, a few ideas, a bit of more information, or an email too. So it can pre-select that, or you can type anything in here. And once you define what it is you want written, like a thing, then you have to fill in what the thing is about. So for example, if you're going to write an email, you want to ask it to write an email about something. So you have to put something in there once you've decided what type of structure you want. And I'll give you an example on how this is going to work. So in this example, I'm going to send Huey Popluck an idea I have for an upcoming program at Tech for Senior. I'm going to talk about satellite internet. So I've asked Compose AI to write an outline for a blog post on the benefits of satellite internet. So I'm going to create an outline and I want to send this to Huey. So I've typed in the appropriate terminology, hit enter, and now it's going to write a blog post for me. And here we come up with the blog post. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you get the idea that it's written it all out for me. All right, so Huey has received my email and sent me an email back and said, Ron, this is a great idea. Continue on and send me copies of the final. So I'm going to come back down to my my outline, and I'm going to look here and see the first really the importance. I want to elaborate on the importance of internet connectivity in today's society. So I'm simply going to highlight this, and we're going to copy it. Right click and copy. And then we're going to come down to a couple of lines below. I'm going to open up with 2 forward slashes. We're going to open up Compose AI, and we're going to come down here, and I'm going to say, write a couple of paragraphs about. So I want about 2 paragraphs. I don't want this too long. And then what we're going to do is we're going to paste that into what we've copied. So now it says, write a couple of paragraphs about the importance of internet connectivity in today's society. Okay, let's see what it says. And here we go. So now we have the section here. It's written, overall, the importance of internet connectivity will only continue to grow as we come, so on and so forth. So it's written 2 paragraphs about the importance of internet connectivity in today's society. And again, you can expand this and go through all the different outline that we've just created and make a article or blog post. I can then send that back to Huey right from here because we are in Gmail. So we'll just add that and say final blog post, and away we go.